Hey, Glenna. How's it going?
Not too bad. How are you? Can you guys hear is my AC unit really loud in the back?
I was gonna ask you the same thing. I'm like literally right next to mine. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear?
I can hear you fine. Yeah. Sarah, we're both sitting next to very loud AC units, so we just want to make sure people are hearing us. Hi Anna. Hi Aaron.
How you guys doing?
Good.
Hey Quinn, we're not doing an executive session?
Yeah, so we can't. Kylie let us know. So I thought we would be able to because we did an executive session in December, if I remember correctly, when Leslie was chair. Like we went into a session to discuss candidates. She saw it on the agenda and flagged it and was like, REAC, like only governing bodies under the RCW are allowed to do executive sessions. So we have to discuss openly, but yeah.
So we can discuss openly then. I'm sorry, Sarah.
I was just gonna say, we have all the restrictions of a governing body, but none of the advantages. Is that how it works?
Exactly. That's what I'm learning, right? Yeah.
Well, I would love to learn what you have learned because I am completely in the dark, except that machinations are happening.
Yeah. Did Kylie reach out? Kylie said she was going to reach out to you and Jennifer to like catch you up on some of the legal stuff. So hopefully she reached out. But she's going to come to next meeting, August 10th, to like answer a lot of questions. And I put a space on for today to get out some questions that we can queue up for her as well. So, but I'll stop talking. I know that you are the agenda leader, Anna, today. So I've talked a lot the last couple of meetings.
It's too hot to talk a lot.
And I should let you all know, Jennifer is not going to be here. She's on vacation in the Grand Canyon right now with her partner.
In search of the perfect Zoom background, that's what I thought.
Exactly.
Oh, I had really hoped. I mean, I think it's reasonable, entirely reasonable that council is going to stay remote until for the foreseeable future, because looking at the case numbers, that really makes sense. But, you know, all through these endless years of 2020, I keep hoping, you know, various things make me go, okay, soon we'll be in person.
Yeah, I would love to be with everybody in person soon. And Anna, whenever you want to kick it off, I think this is everybody.
Okay. I call the July 14th meeting of the Race Equity Advisory Committee to the City Council of Bremerton to order. Welcome. Who would care to read the land acknowledgement? Don't all speak at once.
We signed up in advance. I think it was you, Sarah.
That's what I was afraid of. I'm still trying to get my screens to function appropriately. So does anybody have it handy, or should I find it online?
I'm enlarging it.
Oh, thank you.
But I can't enlarge it for you.
Oh, right. You could if you share your screen, but I can find it on my website. Just take a second.
Well, is it okay if I read the next part while you?
Well, you could go ahead and read the acknowledgement if you want it.
Yeah, instead of the purpose and vision, I'm gonna read another part of REAC that's on our website. The purpose of the committee is to provide advice and counsel to the City Council on matters identifying programmatic, community, and legislative options, and to seek suggestions on how to ensure that the City of Bremerton is an open and welcoming community for all. Responsibilities may include adopting a purpose mission statement, which we've done, setting goals and/or determining which issues, policies, and procedures to review, in other words, scope, which we have not done, establishing a timeline for each goal, obviously not done, hosting community events and outreach. You guys rocked that just before I got on the committee. And making recommendations to city council, which is part of what's coming up for the July 27th presentation, no? Question mark? Hello?
We'll be reporting back on that. And just a quick correction though, we did do those things you said we didn't do at our at our retreat that we had, and that's how we came up with our working groups to focus on those different areas. So just making
So
note.
where is that information? Because I haven't, and I'm truly just asking because I've been on the committee, what, March, April, May, June. This is my 5th meeting and I haven't heard report backs from any of those working groups. Have I just missed them in my exhaustion?
Nope, the Change the Power working group is the one that put together the forum that you referenced, I think, just a little bit ago. And the new business and new economy did 2 forums in the fall. And those working groups came out of the retreat that we did, and we did a full SWOT analysis. And from that information, we came up with the working groups to focus on those different realms. So that documentation is from, I think that was, somebody can look it up for me probably right now. Quinn might have it handy. It might have been February 2021 was that retreat. I'm not exactly sure the month. I don't have it off the top of my head, Anna, sorry.
Okay, so like almost a year and a half ago.
That's correct. And we've been talking about doing another retreat, but then we kept being hung up by all of these procedural questions. So we had that on our agenda to plan in December. And then we kept being told that our entire procedural charter, all of that was problematic. And so we put that aside. And meanwhile, we also started focusing on trying to recruit new members. So the retreat has been something, a new retreat to set new goals has been something that's been on the list. And I think it's very much needed. I don't think we can just go back to the old working groups because that was then and this is now.
Okay, well, thank you
Also-
very much. I did not know all of that background and I've never seen any of those documents.
Also,
See 'em.
can you hear me?
Hey, Daryl.
Also, if you've been here, since you've been here 5 meetings, you know we had to consolidate our committees. You know we haven't had the people to spread out and have those different reports. So don't act like we're not doing our job. You know, we being stuck
Daryl?
in the mud on every turn.
Daryl, I'm not acting like you're not doing your job. I'm just
Well,
saying, here's what I've
said was
observed.
like
Am I
you
right?
heard the
Or am-
report.
Daryl,
you
you're
said-
talking over me. How about you go, Daryl? Why don't you go and then I'll respond? How's that? Then I won't be talking over you or you over me.
I'm just correcting you because to me, it sounded like you said we wasn't doing what we supposed to be doing, and you've been here for 5 meetings. And if you've been here for 5 meetings paying close enough attention, you'll see what we've been fighting through. This is nothing to talk over you. It's just to correct the facts. So we won't look like we wasting our time here or wasting your time. That's all it is.
Okay, well, then now I'll talk so that, because Zoom is so tough with like interrupting each other. I'm just saying, here's what I've observed, what's the explanation, and not saying, oh my gosh, your guys are like so fallen down. I'm just saying, how does this work? Because I didn't know, but I'm gonna just move on. Sarah, are you ready to read the land acknowledgement statement?
Sure, I could. I just saw Aaron's hand up though.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
Just a quick question, since this has just come up. When folks come on the REAC, and the newest folks we've had are our city council members, were you as city council members provided with the notes of the minutes of the meetings prior to you coming on, like so that you would have exactly what I just described, like the SWOT analysis and all the material from our retreat and the meetings since then? So I guess that's a question, is like that only happening on this committee, or is it a common practice for Bremerton City Council to not provide newly incoming city council members when they join a committee with the history of that committee and its minutes? Because it seems to me like that would have solved exactly the problem that you're outlining on it. And I guess incorrectly assumed that a city council would provide its own members when they joined a committee with the history of that committee and a place where they could read the notes.
I'm on Public Works. I never got anything. What about you, Quinn?
So yeah, Anna, you'll wanna just reach out to either Christine, and Christine's actually on as well. Everything is publicly available, so you might need to ask folks for that. But to answer your question, at least for me, Aaron, when I got on, when Leslie and Michael were kind of the two more senior ones, I didn't get any sort of download of information. I was kind of trying to do it as far as much as osmosis. So that would be maybe one of our working group work plan items, is to just like consolidate everything and get like an onboarding packet together. That would be great, especially when we have like some other folks that are trying to join.
Well, I think kind of the underlying point I'm making is that this is a really good example of something that if we could be in a better position to actually provide that advice and consultation with the city council and the city in general, that we could talk about how jurisdiction not having built-in things that helps bring people alongside and catch them up is an equity issue, right? So the fact that that doesn't exist right now for y'all on city council or anyone who's coming on is not just a problem on this committee. If it doesn't exist generally, that's a problem.
Yeah, and I think Christine just sent a chat. Year-to-date information was provided with a delay in approval of meeting minutes. With the turnover, I'm pulling up prior information to send in an email. So normally when minutes do get approved and agendas get approved, Lori and Christine will send that, and that's kind of the information that gets plugged in. But yeah, if you want to go further when you weren't on there, I don't know where that information lives other than just like asking Christine and Lori for it, Anna.
So
That's all I know. Can we go back to the agenda, or as soon as whoever has their hand up is done? Glenna, please go on.
yeah, I just wanted to say, as a professional librarian and cataloger of information, I'd be more than happy to talk with Christine and access those resources and put together an onboarding packet that could be given out to anyone. So I'd be more than happy to take point on that right now.
We, the Race Equity Advisory Committee, entirely approve and endorse this step. And we authorize you, Christine, to interact with Glenna, because that would be really useful. Okay, does anybody else have anything else? Because I'd like to go to the agenda and get all this business stuff done and then start talking. Okay, so Sarah, are you ready with the land acknowledgement statement? Because please.
Squamish Tribe has approved this for local groups, events, and gatherings. Every part of this soil is sacred in the estimation of my people. Every hillside, every valley, every plain and grove has been hallowed by some sad or happy event and days long vanished. That's Chief Seattle from 1854. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is within the ancestral territory of the Saquabs, people of the clear salt water, Suquamish people, expert fishermen, canoe builders, and basket weavers. The Saquabs live in harmony with the land and waterways along Washington's central Salish Sea, as they have for thousands of years. Here, the Saquabs live and protect the land and waters of their ancestors for future generations, as promised by the Point Elliott Treaty of 1855.
Beautifully read. So item number 2, is everybody okay with the meeting agenda?
I think you skipped a couple items under 1.
No, we've read the purpose and vision many times, so I thought more useful to keep moving by reading the third part of what's on the REAC page. That was what I read before the land acknowledgement. So I'm going to move on to item 2. Does everyone approve the agenda? Anybody have a problem with the agenda?
I'm wondering if
Sarah?
Aaron's concerns were addressed. He'd raised some in an email, and I'm just wondering if those were addressed.
Christine incorporated his suggestions in this agenda. That is what she said. Aaron, can you confirm that?
Yeah, thank you, Christine. Appreciate your work on that.
Okay, so does anyone have a problem with the agenda or something they want to change or add or cut?
I think just for the record, for whomever's taking notes, maybe it's Quinn. I think the agenda still says the words executive session, and that should be cut, right? Because we're not doing executive session.
So I think Christine sent out a finalized one today. I think like after 3.
That's
So
fine.
yeah,
It's
the executive session's cut. The only other thing I do want to cut is there's not going to be any interviews today, and we can talk about that when we get to interviews. But I do think we should talk about the member that we did interview and make a decision on that.
Yeah. She sent it out at 2:37. So do I have approval of the meeting agenda? Going once, going twice? Sold. Okay, moving to item 3. Without using bad language about my computer. Okay. Can I get approval of the minutes from the June 9th, 2022 REAC meeting? Did anyone have a question about those? Or a disagreement with them? Sorry, when I'm looking at the agenda, I can't see the rest of you, so that's a flaw of mine. Let me try to fix that. Okay. All right. Minutes approved? Okay. Let us interview imaginary candidates. Does anyone want to do that? Because that's all we have right now is imaginary candidates. Yeah, Quinn, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to update folks on that. Again, the people that responded the last time that I followed up were Harrington, and then he ultimately decided not to move forward, and Laomi. All of the other folks that have previously applied have been contacted, but those were the only 2 that actually, even gave a response, and Laomi was the only one to move forward with that. And then I think we can talk about people that showed interest at Juneteenth when that item number comes up.
Okay. Are you guys okay with using this time to determine if Preciado is, Aaron, please go ahead.
Just a quick question. I wanted to verify that Madeline got followed up with and neither wasn't interested or you didn't hear from them. And just to ask, did everybody just get emailed or did folks get phone called too? I just want to make sure that we really connected with people and it wasn't just, I didn't get a response to an email because we don't necessarily know if they heard.
Yeah, it was a combination of both. I believe I did email Madeline. I'm going to look through my sent folder right now because I don't want to give you any false information, but kind of basically what the contact information was, I would use both if I didn't hear from them. So let me look through my sent and I'll give you a better answer in the chat, okay? At least for Madeline.
Yeah, the reason I called, just in case folks don't remember that I'm calling Madeline's name specifically, is Madeline wasn't one of sort of the first group of people who applied, like when we all applied. Madeline was much later when we were seeking vacancies at the end of last year. And that's why I'm specifically naming her because it wasn't just a, hey, we're coming back around to you. It was her first time applying.
Okay. Thank you, Aaron. Are you guys okay with using agenda item 4 to determine if Preciado is a candidate and we want to appoint Preciado? Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm for them. Glenna is for them. That's 2. Yeah, Sarah, please go ahead.
Was this the person we interviewed a few meetings back?
The last
sorry,
meeting
Yeah, okay,
in the June meeting, yeah.
okay, thank you. Yes, I'm in favor.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought their race equity lens was really strong and I'm excited about their interest.
Yeah, me too. Aaron, you're okay? Daryl? Okay, excellent. I hereby announce the appointment of Naomi Preciado to the Race Equity Advisory Committee.
And would you all be okay with me reaching out to her, to them to let them know tonight? Is that fair? That cool? Okay, great.
Let us bombard them with congratulatory emails.
I'm very excited to have them join us, but is this a confirmation right now that we are fully empowered and allowed to select our own members?
So that's a great question. Based on what structure we have now, yes. And so what we do want, and the advice we've been given from city attorney is when we do kind of create whatever structure we want, we are going to want to put like, hey, what are our requirements? How long do they serve? Flush out all these details. But while balancing right now our need for new blood, basically, and the structure that has been here, we're still operating in that structure. So we will want to strengthen it and have more guidelines, but since this is the way it has been done under the motion, we can still do that, is my understanding.
Okay. So, and in any event, I think all of us believe that it is easier to beg forgiveness than ask permission. Yeah, Daryl, please go ahead.
We also need to address the fact that my term is up next month and Aaron's is up the month after that. So what does that look like?
And mine's up too, I think.
Okay.
And
Quinn, you're the chair.
yeah, I will say, if you look at the legal memo, the language of the motion that brought REAC into existence says up to 3 council members and up to 7 council members. So, you know, while it behooves us to have more people on the committee, that way we're not violating quorum when like 2 or 3 of us meet, there's no requirement of like a minimum. So we can have continuous kind of recruitment, but I do think we should talk about what our strategies should be about attracting people to REAC and reaching out, because these positions are, you know, coming up, and whether or not people want to stay for another appointment or not, and figure out how that looks. But at this point, my understanding based on conversations with Kylie and the reading of the documents is, you know, we can have people leave. We just have to be careful of quorum after that, with our side meetings. Right now, 3 people can meet without violating quorum. Obviously, when fewer members step off, that creates a different number for quorum.
Okay. Are there any further questions on this item?
I just want to also point out to folks that Christine says the appointment may be subject to legal review. So if there is any problems with us appointing it, you know, legal will step in. But from my understandings, that isn't an issue right now. The issue is structure moving forward.
Okay.
Before
All
you
right.
move on, that Anna, you asked if anybody else, I just like following up on what Daryl said. Daryl, if I'm reading you right, it means that next month would be your last meeting unless we have had the conversation and we have figured out, you know, whether you're staying on or not. So is at least with Daryl something that we can have a conversation about tonight, because it'll be too late at the next meeting, correct?
Next meeting will be time enough, no?
I think Sarah and I both are on the same timeline, if I'm not mistaken.
I think I'm after you, but I'm not sure. But can I make a motion that we implore Daryl to stay on the committee?
Seconded. Daryl's the main
Don't
reason.
ask, don't ask the city council.
Daryl, your term expires August 10th. So the meeting will be, what, August 11th?
Yes.
I think I saw some seconds. Can I call a question?
Yeah, I have a, okay, so it's been seconded. I just have a question for you, Daryl. Would you be up for, Sarah made a motion, it's seconded, I'd have you stay on. Would you be up for like staying on, like we're not asking you to sign up for another 2 years or whatever, if you're not wanting to do that now, but like, it seems like, because we extended Glenna's term, right? So as things stand now, we still have the power to extend for whatever period we want to. So can we extend to an amount that Daryl feels comfortable with tonight? And then that conversation can come back up if it needs
Yes,
to?
yes, we can do that under agenda item 6. How's that? Because that's where we're actually talking about the committee and its structure. So I just would like us to get out of here at 7:30, and I hope you guys are all of the same mind, or to at least shoot for it.
And I would push back on that, Anna, that we need to wait for number 6. We're talking about Bremerton REAC vacancies, which is under number 5 right now, which I think is germane.
Okay, well, carry on then.
So my understanding is there's nothing in the structure so far that would preclude us from extending anybody's term. Again, that's kind of the problem with the structure, is there's not strict guidelines for what happens when can somebody reapply? Can somebody, what are the ways we might need to kick somebody off if there's somebody that, is detrimental to the committee? Like, those are kind of the issues that need to be fleshed out. But kind of the wiggle room with that is there's no hard and fast rules about that. So, I'll ask Kylie, kind of making a list for Kylie, but I don't see anything wrong with that from a legal standpoint at this point, or the committee rules.
Daryl, how long would you be willing to stay to extend your term as of tonight?
Well, I don't, without taking up too much time, I would just like to say that there's only one reason, well, probably 2 reasons that I'm only interested in having it extended. And number one is because I would do the Black community a disservice by walking away from this space and allowing all white people except for Glenna to decide on racial equity from that lens. I think I owe it to the Black community of Bremerton to do that. That being said, I would also like to see us open this up to people who live in unincorporated Bremerton. You know what I'm saying? In the county areas, figure out a way to do that, because that's where you're gonna find the real meat at. So that's all I really got to say about that. I really, in all fairness to Anna and Quinn and Jennifer, I'm having a tough time with this because of the intentional bureaucracy that we seem to face. And it's just difficult when everybody else is catching wind of equity, and Bremerton is sitting in the middle of the bay with a rowboat with one oar. So it's kind of where I'm at on it. I don't think I want to be extended any more than the first of the year. At the very latest, we could talk about it again there if we need to.
When I know the charter is really firm, was it Teresa Jones who spoke at the last meeting, who was just outside, who was in unincorporated, like in Bremerton, but unincorporated? And what's been told to me is that, like, that's really a hard and fast thing, is you have to be inside Bremerton. Quinn, you're the lawyer. What do you know about that?
I know that the charter says specifically that certain people on certain, like, clearly council, you need to be a resident. I haven't looked at the charter in a bit. I'm not sure if it extends to the committee. I can pull it up right now and do a fast reading of it, but we would have to defer to Kylie. If we needed, the only way to change the charter is through a vote of the people, but I don't know if that extends fully to a committee, an advisory committee like ours, because I would love to have people pass Riddell Way, right?
Lori Smith, right after I got on to Sarah, I see you, and I'll get to you in just one sec. I beg your pardon. Lori Smith said that that two things were inflexible. People had to be over 18 and they had to live inside the city of Bremerton to serve on any committee. And she showed me where that was in the charter, and I don't have it, but so that's yet another thing to ask Kylie, I guess. Sarah, please go ahead. Quinn, am I interrupting you? Okay.
Sorry,
Sarah,
I'm pulling up the charter right now.
okay, Sarah, please go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to acknowledge what Daryl just said. I really appreciate that he's willing to serve longer, because I know that this has been really a challenging committee for him, and he keeps showing up and he keeps doing extraordinary work. And I just want to say I'm really grateful. I'm feeling some of the same challenges, but I'm sure from everything you said, Daryl, that you've been feeling it a lot harder. And just want to say I really appreciate that you're willing to extend your service on this committee a little longer.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on agenda item 4?
I think I have a motion on the floor.
Yeah, I'm gonna offer a friendly amendment to your motion, Sarah, that based on what Daryl said, that extension go through the end of 2022, and then for further discussion at, I guess, the last meeting of 2022, because that would be the first one for the next year. Is that cool?
Yeah, I mean, my motion was that the motion was to implore Daryl to stay on, and I can change that to be just that we take the formal action of continuing his membership now that he's agreed until the end of 2020. So I'd be happy to shift the language in that regard.
Okay, so the motion before the committee is imploring Daryl Riley to remain through the 1st January 2023. Is that correct?
No, I just changed it. We did
Okay.
it for the first time. This time it's to, in fact, reappoint him until the end of 2022.
Okay. Well, Quinn, you're the chair. Okay.
I also just want to circle back. If you look at the text that I just pulled, it looks like it does need to be a resident for at least 1 year prior to appointment in 18 years. However, it is qualified unless otherwise provided by ordinance. And so that's why it's important that we get an ordinance that crafts what we want to do. So if city council establishes an ordinance and says on REAC, you can be within Kitsap County, or you can be X miles away or something like that, it looks like it wouldn't be violative of the charter.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll second Sarah's motion.
Okay. So the questions. Daryl, yes or no?
No.
Daryl Riley shall not be reappointed?
Oh, I thought you said, did I have any questions?
Sorry. So the question before the committee is, shall Daryl Riley be reappointed through January 1st, 2023? No?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that was confusing. Glenna? Okay. Quinn? Okay. Aaron? Okay. Sarah? Okay. Okay. Motion carries unanimously. Yay. Okay. Anything else on agenda item 4? And congratulations, Mr. Riley. Okay, then let us move to the update on Bremerton City Council's activities. Action item follow up. We've done Bremerton REAC vacancies back under agenda item 4. Juneteenth Festival report and lessons learned.
Anna, do you want to take that since you and Jennifer were the ones to set up everything?
Well, it was, I would say the primary lesson learned is that you have to leap on that application like the day it comes out. You cannot wait. The other thing I would say is props to Jennifer Chamberlain, because she found us a table spot where no table spot was. And I think we made a few good connections. But, you know, our presentation was like, you know, we had a bunch of papers on a clipboard and great swag, and people took our swag very happily, water bottles and totes and stuff. And there were a few really good conversations, but it was just strange that it was so disjunct. I didn't see any of, well, Daryl, I saw you, but I didn't see, and Quinn, of course I saw you, but were the rest of you there? And I just
Yeah, I saw
totally
that.
missed you?
Yeah,
and
I
talk
was
to
there.
Jen.
I was working the festival. I remember I said I wasn't gonna be able to take any shifts at the booth because we waited so long to get it. I had to commit to other things, but I was there all day.
Okay. Glenna?
Said that I would be happy to take a shift, but nobody contacted me. And then when I walked up to the table, Jennifer basically said that it was set, so I didn't, which is fine, because I didn't feel the need to do it. I just was trying to fulfill my obligation if it was needed.
Well, it was really nice of you to offer. Glenna?
No, I wasn't able to make it. I had family commitments that day.
Okay. Well, what did you guys think of it? What lessons did you learn?
I'll jump in. I was there, I guess, for the last 2 hours of it, or I guess like 1 through 4, whenever it started raining. I think that's a theme of learning lessons, at least for me with community engagement in Bremerton, is things fill up very, very quickly. So yeah, it's huge props to Jennifer to be able to get in through the back door. And then, yeah, there wasn't that follow-up email saying, you know, where there were going to be slots available. And I think we need to tighten communication, especially now that we know all the parameters around the OPMA. I think that froze communication for a while because we were all trying to scramble to figure out that. You know, I think jumping on things much sooner is obviously a lesson to be learned. But face-to-face interaction was huge. I think a lot of people were there, you know, just grabbing swag from, you know, all the other tables and everything, but it was a great way to start conversation and tell people what we were about. And Jennifer does have a sign-up list of people that wanted more information. So she has a list of people that want more information and a list of folks that are interested in possibly applying. So we're going to be contacting them in the next couple of weeks to make sure that we actually follow up with that. Go ahead, Sarah.
Charlene, who recently retired. Sarah, please go ahead.
Could you be more specific about what the follow-up entails? Who's doing it and what the follow-up will be and when it will take place?
Yeah. I'm not calling anybody out because I've been obviously somebody to do it myself, but I think during last meeting there was a commitment to send up a logistical email of like to sign up for shifts and that.
I had a different question. The follow-up to the people who signed up on the list who were promised some kind of follow-up. My question is, what is the follow-up for them?
Got you. I was gonna do, if it's all right with everybody else, the same thing that I was doing with the other REAC applicants, just email, introducing myself, offering to get a cup of coffee to talk more about what we do, and then point them to the application on the website and the website to learn more about us as well. So basically what I'm always doing is offering to meet with people in person, because I think that's an important, you know, step, and then just also pointing them to the resources that we have. But definitely open to other ideas, and you know, if you think that that's not it, go.
There's one thing that might be good to add to that in terms of like the most robust method for that kind of outreach is if other folks are willing, yes, say yourself, but list everybody who's part of the committee and our email addresses and say, here's who's serving, and whomever you want to reach out to, you know, to have a cup of coffee to talk about the committee, to get your questions answered, because you never know if somebody's going to feel comfortable talking with you or not, or if they're going to, as their community members, right? They might want to talk to a community member in addition to a city council member.
That's a great point. I'm gonna put that in the email then. Is everybody cool with me sharing their emails and
Yeah.
offering that? Okay, thanks. Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah, I
Okay.
have a email address, so if you could please use that one. I sometimes get things on my personal.
Great.
Okay, anything else on Juneteenth? And
Yeah,
I
those people,
agree the follow-up is great. Yes, please go ahead, Sarah.
I just wanted to follow up on that question, a follow-up. The people getting the email will also be given an invitation to apply. That's what you said. They'd be given a link to the application site and some kind of assurance that we are really looking for people. Is that part?
Yes, yeah, I think so. I you know, unless the committee thinks otherwise, I think we vet anybody who's interested and offer them that ability.
Let's ask the mayor to do a public service announcement for us. Or
Okay,
applicant to the committee.
okay. Aaron, please, Quinn, and then Aaron.
Oh, Aaron, you had your hand up. I just had a clarifying question for Daryl. Sorry.
Go ahead. Mine's on next topic, so go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, I was gonna ask Daryl, announcement. Do you think announcement at like a council meeting or an announcement? Like what venue were you thinking?
You know, Quinn, I'm just actually trying to figure out a way to nudge them to take steps to show some interest in what we're doing here. You know, even a dog know when he ain't wanted. You feel me? And all of y'all some animal lovers. You know, if we was a dog, if we belong to the city, we'd be the dog y'all leave outside in the wintertime. So, you know, how can we get a chance to have the city council president, who's a founding member of REAC, and the mayor, who I hear are secretly having discussions about the same work we're doing? How do we get them to promote us and help us? Yeah. And not continue to work instead of working with us. It's almost like they're working on the same thing we're working on, but they're working over there on their same project as it relates to this. This is dumb. This is not how city business is run in no other committee. So that's all I want. I want them to show like they care about like every other committee. I've been at every committee meeting the city has. I've been to a meeting. And this is not what's happening. How can we change that? Michael Goodnow should have visited us by now. You know what I'm saying? I mean, sent us an email or something. I don't know, man. What do we do? Why are we going before the city council anyway? What are we asking for?
Yeah, good questions. Yeah, and I think I have some information for, like in the next agenda items of like how the mayor and REAC are kind of moving in similar directions that I think are hopefully good information. I'm you know, in our council goals and priorities, it seems to be like at least some movement on some of the things that we talked about. So you know, if what I could try to do as well as chair is like also set up possible meetings with the mayor, you know, myself, just to make sure that there's like strong communication that's going between executive and this committee. Because I know sometimes things can kind of get lost in telephone, or I honestly have no idea whoever's talking to anybody, and I'm trying to you know, avoid quorum issues. But if I could set up a meeting with him and kind of get some information to make sure we're on the same track, I'm happy to do that too, and get some ideas from him to promote getting people on this committee.
Okay, Aaron, you've been very patient. Please go ahead.
We're on the agenda item that we're on here is like update on Bremerton City Council activities, and it's action item follow-ups, and I have a few action items from the notes from last time that aren't specifically enumerated under A here, but I want to ask about them now. That's why I'm bringing it up now.
Is
So
this relevant to the July 27th study session presentation?
no, that's what I'm saying, Anna. The action item follow-ups I have are not any one of those 4 bullet points. They are other action items that from last meeting that are Bremerton City Council activities related. They're just not bullet pointed out here. And so I'm bringing them up now because they're all related to things Quinn was going to do. And since I raised my hand when Quinn was talking about various things he was following up on. So I wanted to find out about these as well.
Well, I would suggest that perhaps we get through the agenda that we've approved and then move on to your agenda items.
They're not new. They're just action item follow-ups on Bremerton City Council activities. That's why I'm bringing them up now, because that's the topic we're on is Bremerton City Council activities.
Well, I would prefer to keep moving, but what's the consensus of the group?
I'm fine with it, Aaron.
Yeah, okay, please go ahead, Aaron.
Okay, Quinn, one thing, the action item you had here was Quinn was going to tell City IT that community members on Bremerton REAC still have not been issued city email addresses in order to, so that we can access the GEAR portal.
Yes.
That's under old business.
Oh, it must, sorry if I'm not, I must not have seen it there. Okay, so never mind, we could talk about it there.
Okay, you're
And
sure?
There was one more, and maybe I missed it elsewhere on the agenda, was Quinn was going to find out how our advice on anything related to the 2023 budget might fit into the Finance Committee's timeline of the budgeting process.
Yes, and Jennifer has some more information on this. She kind of took that task. When we are going to put forward a budget proposal for REAC at the next meeting on the agenda item. So,
not a budget for this committee. This action item was you were going to find out how our advice on anything related to the 2023 budget would fit into the Finance Committee timeline for working that budget up. You're on mute.
sorry, maybe I'm misunderstanding the question, but the timeline for the Finance Committee regarding our advice, or?
Here, I'll state it a different way. So it's written in the notes from last time. So last time we were talking about how do we as REAC get advice to the city council, especially related to the budget for 2023, since that's where a lot of equity issues get implemented. And when we talked about that last meeting, somebody, I can't remember who, said, well, the Finance Committee is the one that timelines out the budgeting process. And so the action item you took away at the last meeting was that you were going to find out how our advice that we want to give related to the 2023 budget, where it would need to fit within the Finance Committee's timeline for working on that budget document, so that we aren't late to be able to give it, so that we don't go to give advice in December and they say, well, we're already too far past for advice like that. You were going to find out where in their timeline we would be able to give advice.
Got you. I see what you're saying now. Yeah, so one, the way that we get advice to city council, and this has been explained to me by multiple people, is through the chair. So we have chair reports and committee reports, and that's the way that city council wants advice coming from any committees, is through the chair during their chair reports. As far as the budget cycle, it is going to come out in October. And so anything that we need to be doing for asking for any sort of budgeting process to get ahead of that needs to be happening before the mayor actually does it. And it looks like Christine has
The budget's posted 10/19.
finance deadline for department budgets is July 28th. And so that's just department budgets. Christine, does that include any sort of committee budgets, or?
Thank you, Chris. That's what I'm asking for, Quinn. Thank you, Christine, because I wasn't talking about budget for this committee. Well, the thing that came up last meeting was when you look at a budget for a jurisdiction at the deep level, what departments spend, what is spent everywhere, an equity analysis applies to it. And when that came up last meeting, somebody, it might have been Jennifer, I can't remember, said, it's really the Finance Committee that does the early work on drafting the budget. So we would need to find out from them at what point in their early work do they need to get advice on how to think of that with a race equity lens, right? And that's when you said you would go back to not the city council, but the finance committee to find out at what point in their process they need to get that deeper advice for us in order to implement it. And it sounds like what Christine is saying is that they're going to be doing their work on city department budgets, having the deadline on that July 28th, which leads me to what are we going to do in the next 2 weeks to try to bring some race equity lens to that work? Because that is where ultimately in the 2023 budget, we're going to be seeing either the money, frankly, like the resources to be put towards doing this or not. So we're going to be talking about when we get.
Excellent.
Sorry, I'm almost finished, Anna. When we get to talking about the July 27th thing, we're going to be presenting to study session. Glenn is going to have some really good examples from the GARE resources that we want to point out to City Council. Doing these things is going to match up with a lot of what community has been telling you. However, one of the things we noticed is nobody from Bremerton is even accessing that website or using it, engaging the forums, et cetera. And so even something as simple as that, like if there has to be a certain little snippet of time that everybody who works in any department of the city can spend accessing the GARE website on a monthly or a weekly basis, that would be a thing that would need to be budgeted because that's part of their staff time, right? They would need to have permission to say, hey, a portion of your time, 2 hours a month or whatever, is dedicated to being able to use the resources on this website. Isn't that something we need to get into this early stage in the budgeting process?
Can I just make a suggestion for down the line? Like next time we approve the agenda, if there's things you want to put in the agenda, let's put them in at the beginning, because at this point it's 6:52 and we're still halfway through an agenda item that has to end, is scheduled to end at 6:25. So I'm just suggesting that for down the line. Quinn, this is obviously a conversation between you and Aaron. Please carry on.
Yeah, we can take this offline too, Aaron, if you want. There's July 26th, it looks like, is the next finance committee meeting. Sounds like there's 3 issues. One, we can't direct staff time. It would have to be the mayor directing that staff time, so we would need buy-in from the mayor. 2, I don't know if that actually needs to be budgeted in or if that's something that doesn't need to be tracked and it's something that is a directive of the mayor. That's a question that we need to answer. But 3, also, if there is going to be somebody from REAC going to the finance committee, we need to talk to, I guess, Jennifer, who's the chair of that, and let her know what kind of information we would be bringing to that meeting and whether or not we could get on the agenda. So those are 3 items that I'm happy to kind of go forth, but those are questions to be answered.
Can we please proceed to the rest of item 5? Is that okay by everybody? Because we're coming up on what I think will be of use and to the purpose of the committee, which is to give advice to City Council. And that's the presentation that Glenna, Daryl, and Aaron have been working on. Do we need to discuss the goals and priorities update from the City Council retreat? Has everyone received that?
So I can give an update on that if that makes sense for me. We are voting next week for the council goals and priorities from the retreat. I let them know that I was going to come back to the committee and see if you guys had any recommendations based on what has already kind of gone through. I put together basically a list and wording and submitted it to council. Council kind of took it, did some
Writing.
some rejections and some exceptions. The main things, I'll send out the actual writing. I can send that out this week. But the main things that they did agree on and do want to put forward is the encouraging GARE training for all employees, working with the mayor to hire a consultant to kind of figure out if we are going to be moving forward with like a full-time staff member for we say DEI. I know that term isn't, but I don't know another term for it. But like basically a DEI chief. Then we also have accepting REAC recommendations, along with anything else that is being proposed by the committee will be under consideration. So that's actually going to be in the council goals and priorities stated. And then, Anna, am I missing anything else that we?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, you're missing, like, you sent out the goals and priorities to everybody on this committee, right, for their review? So that was my question, is did everybody get it? No, okay, I'm gonna put that in the chat right now. Please go on, Quinn.
Yeah, thanks. I think things that were rejected were, it doesn't look like there's traction for getting actual like paid membership on the committee. That for that they are, kind of pushing back and saying no other committee is being paid. So that's something that I don't think is going to be approved by council, at least at this juncture. Other things that I think are the biggest thing is, oh, sorry, Christine put it in. Equity and government coordinates.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah,
So you
Christine already put it in.
That's really what is something that the full council is agreeing to put into their goals and priorities. But I did let them know that I was going to come back to you all and see if you had any revisions. Again, this is an advisory committee, so we can't force council to do anything, but I can certainly take it back to them as chair and say, hey, they really want to push X, Y, or Z, and see if they want to accept any of those.
Can all of you see that in the chat? Okay.
Quinn, you did not email that to us, did you? That's been referenced.
Sorry, what is that?
Anna said the document you took before city council, which I think some of it is just put in the chat, that didn't get emailed out to us, correct? This is the first time we're seeing this language, right?
So this is the language that we consolidated post community conversation and the goals and priorities that came out of that. So like the 83%, the 53%. So basically the language that I presented to council, Aaron, was from your slides that you consolidated from the community conversation.
Got it. This is your rewriting of that. Okay, I was trying to.
Yeah, you're like, where did this come from?
Anna referred to you sending it out to the committee, and I'm just clarifying this version of it. We didn't see. This is the first time we're seeing it.
Yeah, the version you're looking at right now is what council then did with the information that I gave them. So I can share with you the language. It's the same language from the PowerPoint, basically, of the recommendations that came from community. Then during our retreat, it went through debate, and this number 7 that Christine put up is what the council is willing to vote on as a council goal and priority. So as you can see, some of the stuff they rejected, some of the stuff they were on board with.
Yeah, Sarah, go ahead. Sarah, you're muted. Sarah, please, there you go.
I was having trouble getting my cursor over there.
No worries.
You said, just now, Quinn, you said this is something they will vote on, or they did in fact vote on?
Yeah, so at the retreat, we kind of went through a big brainstorming kind of retreat session, and we all came to consensus that this was the language that we could all agree to, that people would be willing to go through. Then Lori sent out that language. This is just one part. It's number 7. There's a lot of other goals, and people on council had time to put in input. We also talked about it at the study session, and so we're going to be voting on it next council, which is next week. And I let them know that I was going to be sharing this language with you all to get any input, and I'll advocate for any input that you all are kind of wanting and that I believe in.
Yeah, Sarah, please go ahead.
Yeah, that's very encouraging. It's really good to hear that it was discussed and that there is specific, there's consensus around taking action. I think I'm seeing this language for the first time also, which doesn't mean it wasn't sent. I might have missed it, but anyway, I don't remember seeing this. It's not clear to me what it means to say coordinate with the mayor on reviewing and implementing policies and programs. Who's
This
coordinating?
is what the language is like in all of the goals and priorities, Sarah. It's all extremely vague.
Policies and programs regarding equity with a race equity lens? Is there anything about reviewing and who is doing the reviewing and to what end that makes it even have any substance to it? I'm sorry.
And that's something.
No, it's an excellent question.
And that's something that I was hoping somebody would bring this up. I didn't want to guide it. I want the information. I want to be advocating for what community wants and what you all want. But basically, yeah, there was kind of a watering down of language to go to like all equity rather than, hey, we need to focus on race equity. And I want to push back on that. I would like to put programs and policies to support race equity, something to firm that up. And I was hoping that you all might want to submit. And what I was hoping you would do is just shoot email with suggestions to city council, and they will get it to me. I won't be responding to it to violate quorum, and I will be able to talk about that when that agenda item comes up next week. So if you have suggestions to this, I'm happy to bring that forward. And again, it's an advisory committee, so they might reject those or they might accept those. But one of my personal recommendations, yeah, and this is a good point, especially with the separation of powers. Goals are kind of the starting point. We weren't not going to have detail, but I do think even as a starting point and a larger vision, centering race equity is something I would like to do. So please, email with suggestions. Again, we can't talk about it over email and we can't, respond over email. But if you have some thoughts, I'm happy to bring them to the council meeting next week.
I'm just going to interrupt briefly to say I will still be listening, but I will be out of the room for 2 minutes. Quinn, you have control.
Thanks, Anna. I don't know who had their hand up first. Go ahead, Daryl.
I just want to say that they're not listening to the community members. The community members wanted more people of color at the table to frame this. They didn't want a bunch of white men doing it. You feel me? There are too many blind spots here, and this is all wrong. The fact that they have nobody there to explain the essence of the removing of just a word or two, how that takes the teeth out of it intentionally. And they don't have nobody in them spaces to tell them that, and they don't want that. That's the whole problem. They want it fluffy, so it can make them look good, but not piss off anybody on the other side. And that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate that they spending this time just to come up with some BS.
And when you say a word that has teeth, you're specifically talking about like, hey, we got to be focused on race equity, right? Is that because that was
on everything? The lenses have to be changed, Quinn. It has to be seen differently. Every subject has to be seen differently until the light clicks. The light hasn't clicked with Eric Younger. The light hasn't clicked with Mayor Wheeler. He hasn't spent enough time in the essence of Black people to figure out what this thing really is. They thinking they can get it from a book or a movie, or they can study for it on the test or something. No, you got to have the people who are most affected by it in the room so that they can explain to you in no uncertain terms how the changes affect them. And they're not doing that. They think because they're in charge, they're the leaders, but that's not the way it goes. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. If they were intentional about it, they'd be trying to work with us, in cohesion with us. Race equity is a big thing. They didn't have to do all this for LGBTQ rights. They didn't have to do all this for the Asian hate bill. Where are we going with this?
Well, I agree with you that this committee should have more members who are community leaders who experience racism. I think that's where we're going to get what you refer to, Daryl, as meat.
Aaron, and then
No?
Aaron
Okay.
had his hand up for a bit, and then Anna, I'm just handing it back to you.
Okay. Aaron, please go ahead.
Yeah, I get that we have a certain time for this meeting and you're asking us to individually email you recommendations, Quinn. And I just want to ask, is it going to be less powerful than if we actually discuss here and come up with collectively suggestions rather than you have 15 emails or whatever to go through from us and try to consolidate those? Like, why are we emailing you instead of figuring out our collective committee input right here is my question.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm fine with either. Again, my kind of thought process was the language that I presented was based on the community conversations and all the work that had been done in the last year, right, of this committee. And then of course, city council can take what they want and reject what they want. And this is kind of what came back. So if you want to come back to a conversation of what kind of things you would like to recommend, I'm happy to do that. I was just, again, trying to figure out some sort of way to get that information in a way that's expedient.
Well, I just want to read what Sarah said. The first, so I get the, thanks for Christine for the header. I see that equity in government is like a header. It's a topic 7 or whatever. But that very first one, coordinate with the mayor on reviewing and implementing policies and programs. Well, the city council already coordinates with the mayor on reviewing, and that's a throwaway statement. So there should be something in there. Coordinate with the mayor on reviewing and implementing policies and programs specifically through a race equity lens. And I would add, with the advice and consultation of the REAC. That's our entire purpose for existing, is to advise on those things. So I would add that on. And also in the point that says it says encourage GARE participation, I would add on, it says now for council members, department directors, human resources staff, I would add on city for the mayor and for the REAC members as well. I mean, I think it should be beyond that. It should be all the staff people, but I'm assuming there's been some negotiation there about how many people can be pushed for within the building itself. But what we know from our research that we're going to talk about later is there is no cost, there is no additional cost in terms of to GARE to have anybody with the city of Bremerton email address accessing that. So what would be the downside to encouraging across the full spectrum of city employees, volunteers, et cetera, anybody who has an email address or could be issued an email address to the city? So I think that list of people should have more people in it, and at minimum add the mayor and our committee.
Aaron, can you write this down? That'd be really helpful, because here's what's, in my experience, here's what happens if people just take notes on what you're saying at normal conversational speed, is they're going to miss parts of what you're saying.
Yeah, I will. I'm saying I will email Quinn, but I'm voicing it out loud in this meeting specifically so my fellow committee members can tell me if they think what I'm saying is on point or BS.
Well, why don't you, I would like it if you would include me and Jennifer at least on your email. You have our email addresses, Aaron?
I will email it to city council email address and to the rest of the committee members. I'm not allowed to email you individually. That's the way we were told about emailing, but I can email it to city council and Christine will send it out to all of you, I'm sure is how it works.
You're allowed to email 3 city council members. That's Quinn, me, and Jennifer. That's part of we don't have quorum for this committee or for council. You can email all 3 of us. And since we all have like really tight schedules, and this is technically a part-time job, you know, if you email it, if use all of you email your comments and desired changes to all of us, then we have a shot at like everybody being able to find time to respond. Because don't we want to respond to this, Quinn, before next Wednesday?
So we can't respond with 4 people. Let's see, there's 7 people, so 4 people is a quorum. So you can't respond if it's 4 people. So that's why Aaron's idea of going through city council is the correct way of making sure we're not violating the OPMA.
I just meant respond by the three of us commenting during the city council meeting, respond in that way.
Yeah, we can respond in that way. We can't respond if there's more than 3 people.
No.
And we also can't have like separate chains
Okay,
that are going on.
all
So,
right, city council it is, my bad. Okay, are there any more things on this? Can we go on to the July 27th, or does somebody else have something on this one? Sarah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to endorse Aaron's suggestion and add that I think frontline people who deal with the public are also a category that's really important, because they're the places where people actually experience the city of Bremerton on a day-to-day kind of basis.
That's an excellent suggestion. Please write it down.
Aaron, can I
Seriously,
have an amendment to add it to yours?
Erin, you're muted.
I just said I'll put it in my email, Sarah.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on this before we move on to the next item? Okay, so Daryl, Glenna, Erin, please tell us about your preparations for your presentation on how the city of Bremerton can take full advantage of GARE membership to the council for the July 27th study session.
So I can speak on this. So we as committee members still don't have access to GARE, but I luckily have access to GARE through my place of employment because the Kitsap Regional Library is also a member of GARE. So I've been perusing their resources. We've met a few times to go over which are the more pertinent ones to bring to City Council, and that'll be ready on the 27th.
It'll be ready on the 27th?
By the 27th for that presentation. Were you hoping to get like the full presentation tonight?
A heads up beforehand would be helpful,
Um,
but if we can't get it, we can't get it.
We could talk through how we're gonna do it.
yeah.
We don't have slides prepared yet, but we could verbally explain what we're gonna do.
So
I'm sorry. I just had a question. Go ahead, never mind. That's all right.
Go ahead,
That's all
Daryl. What's your
That's all right.
question? Okay,
That's all right, never mind.
okay.
so I was going to give a brief overview of the website and how it works, and also a very brief overview as to how committee or city council members and any member of the city of Bremerton, any employee of the city of Bremerton can gain access to the website. And then I was going to highlight some key resources, not only put together by GARE itself, because they have several, they have a lot of tools and research that is specifically relevant to cities like Bremerton, but we were also going to highlight the ways in which other members of GARE are utilizing the discussion posts. And then we were going to a couple of different resources that we found specifically pertinent to different city departments and how they may best work together. And also we were going to tie those into the specific goals that came out of the community discussion that happened several months ago. We were looking at the top goals that the community had for us and what specific resources GARE had that would relate to those goals to educate both the city council members and any member, any employee of the city to help meet those goals.
Can I make a suggestion just for you three, for our mutual consideration, that it's a more persuasive narrative if you go, we met with the people, they said they wanted XYZ. GARE provides this part of XYZ. Here's GARE. Here's how you access it. So just like a narrative. I've heard several of you give impassioned descriptions of GARE, but if you connect it to the community event, and then to how wonderful GARE is, and then go into how to access it. It's just a suggestion I'm making.
All right, that sounds good. I do think, yeah, like Erin said, we're planning on that. And also I think the big point is that I oftentimes think the question comes up of, well, where do we even start and where do we find resources for these things that the community has specifically asked of us? And we now have a substantial, we have substantial access to abundant resources that not only like is an answer to all of those directives from the community, but also subsequently provide specific answers to specific community asks as well.
Quinn, can I just make a suggestion to you, which is that we make sure that everybody on council, Daryl, I'll be with you in 1 second. I'm so sorry I didn't see your hand. So that everybody on council knows how to log in to GARE before the 27th.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was gonna put a memo together that I'm hoping the mayor can distribute to all of his staff as well. That's kind of like, this is what GARE is. These are the resources. Here's how you log in. Yeah, so I want to put that together beforehand.
Okay.
I also
Well,
just wanted to say that we were gonna briefly address that at the beginning. It would be even better if it was addressed beforehand. But I just want to say on the record, it is abundantly easy to sign up for a GARE, for a login to GARE. All you have to do is input your name, your email, and you need to choose the government agency that you're affiliated with. And then they say, we'll grant you access in 2 to 3 days. And that's exactly what happened to me. So I just put in my work email. I clicked that I was affiliated with the Kitsap Regional Library, and I was given access 2 days later.
so if council got that email by Monday,
They'd have access
You know-
by Wednesday. Yeah.
exactly, so that might be useful. Daryl, extremely patient Riley.
I think you used the word a few minutes ago, and I think I need to speak on that. You said that we're going to try to sway the council. We're not there to sway them. We're not there to kiss no rings. We're trying to give you information to do what's right. We're not begging nobody to do nothing that they shouldn't be doing anyway. It's been 6 months. You feel me? We don't have time to come and sway them. So I'm gonna let Erin and her speak on it, because I already know how some of them feel about me. It's not impassioned. It's just direct and assertive. You know, you're using words like sway, like we gotta beg them to do their job.
Okay,
They signed up
Daryl.
here.
Daryl, I am a retired English professor. That's not how I'm using sway, and impassioned when I use it is a compliment.
But that's how you framing it. Like we're supposed to make it nice and sweet for them so that they'll do what we ask them to do. We're not trying to beg them to do nothing, but tell them to do their job. We're advising them. So and the reason I keep coming back to this type of situation is because you keep trying to soften the blow. You keep trying to soften the blow for the council when they're not the ones suffering. They're not the ones out in the streets. You know, Anna, I don't have to. So I'm not going to let you sit here and play this patsy game on how we got to make it sweet and nice for them to digest. They need to be doing their damn job. They should have been on GARE before now. At least let us get in there. This don't make no sense. This is corny. This is corny. And now you want to send them an email to prepare them for what we gonna tell them. Then what are we going for? You could have been sent that email. We got to go outside of city government that we paid for to go get in a program that we paid for. And now we got to go before them to beg them and sway them to use the system that we paid for, that we had to go elsewhere to get into. So no, I'm not into the nice language when this don't make no sense. This is like spitting in my face. I'm done for the night.
Okay. Sarah, please go ahead. Sarah, you're muted.
Thank you. I just want to thank Glenna for putting together the presentation. I particularly like that there is a specific link between what's the community has asked for and what different departments can do. So I think that kind of specificity is going to be really helpful. It seems like a lot of people, when they start thinking about race, their adrenaline pumps in and then they get all excited and they can't think straight. So I think giving very specific next steps is going to be just really helpful. And I appreciate you doing that. I just want to put on the record that I'm appalled that Glenna has to go to a different source in order to access GARE this many months in. I'm glad she's able to do that and willing to do that. But I just find that just appalling and mystifying. So I really appreciate all the folks who are going to City Council, and I appreciate, I certainly am feeling some of Daryl's frustration.
Aaron, please go ahead.
Yeah, I want to say a couple things more about the presentation that we're working on. And then also I just want to echo the piece about how long we haven't gotten in. We haven't gotten in as REAC members. And I want to just sort of highlight, we're so lucky, right, that Glenna works at the library and the library is a member, and somebody who works at the library happens to be on REAC, and we could get in that way. But if that weren't the case and we didn't have access, this would feel like quite a setup that we are going to go in front of the city council at a study session to tell them how to best take advantage of a website. And that body, the institution, is preventing us from even getting in to fully peruse it. How do you coach someone? How do you give them advice, which is our work, on how to best do this work if they are putting up a barrier to us even getting in to tell them about that resource? So it's very ironic. And luckily, the library has got their stuff together and is in there working it. So we were able to get in there and look at it. But I wanted to point out a couple more things. Glenna covered almost every single thing we talked about, but there's a few more. One is we do have these direct connections between the feedback from the community forum, right? The things that have the percentages. We have direct connections to those to specific tools, right? That are on the GARE website to give them examples. For every one of those points, there's going to be way more than one tool, but we have sort of examples so they can see. And another thing is that there's other things on the GARE website that aren't even like a specific tool, but more even a framework. So for example, many jurisdictions create steering committees, or like a body that brings together folks across places. You're hearing me broken record now. This is what Change the Power has been talking about for a year and a half, Change the Power work group. Steering committees that bring together city council members, heads of departments, community members like those that serve on REAC, the mayor. And that is the body when it starts to do these other things and implement the tools, like look at policies across the board. That body holds that responsibility and it has representation from all those groups. So we'll have those examples to show too, which again goes back to the community forum. But there will be that direct tie, and I just wanted to highlight that. And I don't see any reason that, also just saying to fellow community members, any reason that we as community members can't just walk into City Norm Dick's building with slips of paper that say, did you know that as a person who has a City of Bremerton email address, you can go on this website and have all these free resources and you can use them to do your job and engage community and connect with community better. And I'm going to do that because it seems like it's the only way that we're going to get this done quickly.
I know it's on old business, but I just want to bring it up right now that IT let me know kind of one of the hurdles is the fact that you all are community members and not employees of the city. Glenna was able to access her GARE membership because she's an actual employee of the library. It would actually cost $1,200 to sign each of you up for a domain plus $400 a year. Which is a lot more than the actual GARE membership, which I'm fine asking for and moving forward, but I just want to let you know that there's a a reason that you all have had the inability to actually get onto it. We can't violate GARE's licensing. I don't want to put our entire membership and licensing in issue by. I would love to share my username with folks so that you could get in. But other than that, what IT has told me is it's $1,200 plus $400 a year per each person, and that's compared to our $1,000 city membership. I'm fine asking council for that money. I don't think it's that much. Just to let you know, that's the cost of you all getting a domain with the city.
Is there a way of like, I'm sorry, Aaron, you had your hand up first.
Quinn, does GARE prohibit us from sharing, or does GARE prohibit us, for example, from like an existing email address that would already have access that multiple people already check, like the one that Christine and Lori use? Does GARE, because they're going to access it using the same one, correct? Does GARE prohibit us from sharing?
They're not going to use the same one. They're going to use their individual email address. So every single person at the city has their own individual email address, and they're going to use that to set up a profile. So that's the question I have into GARE right now. Once I got the question answered by IT, why we can't just issue you all city emails. They haven't responded to that yet. Again, I just don't want to violate any sort of licensure issues and then put our entire membership at issue. So I'll continue kind of asking if GARE is able to do that. The way that they framed it for me at the beginning is you have to be an employee and you have to have that domain to get into the system. So, I'd assume that the kind of spirit of GARE would allow for that, but I also don't know what their finance structure is and their licensure requirements. So I'm going to have to wait for them to get back to me on that.
Okay, as the
facilitator.
facilitator, since that's old business, and since we have been talking for quite a while around the subject of REAC's purpose, structure, and the city attorney's memo, since a lot of what we're talking about depends on that, I'm just going to move us forward to number 6, because we have had, to my direct recollection, this is the 3rd discussion of why don't we have GARE membership? Because you aren't city employees. So I'm just going to move us forward to looking at our purpose and structure, and perhaps, because Quinn, you're the only guy who knows all this. Like the rest of us don't know the options for the committee relating to structure. Am I correct? Because you're the one who's been talking to.
I mean, I've been talking to Kylie. Kylie's the one that knows like the actual options, and that's why she's going to be attending our next meeting on August 10th to answer any questions about OPMA, structure, anything that's burning. At the last meeting, I did ask folks to email me with any questions that I could queue up for her that you have around OPMA, that you have around structure, that I could put to them to get into a legal memo. I didn't receive anything from folks. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to queue up what I think are the questions that most people have been like at least asking in conversation. But the good thing is we will have Kylie, I've already confirmed with her at our next meeting to answer any of our questions that we have and kind of guide us through that process of making this an actual ordinance, making this a structured committee that would allow us to kind of determine our own fate.
And you'd prefer to table that until next month's meeting when Kylie will be here?
I mean, I can try and field any questions that people have right now, but again, it's going to be Kylie is the legal advisor of the city, so I can step in with hey, let me put that into a question for Kylie. But my expertise is in discrimination law; it's not in government structure.
Okay. Sarah, Glenna, Aaron, do you have any questions on the legal memo that we received?
If we want to, I don't have any right at this moment. If we want to email them to you, Quinn, when do you need them by? What is your deadline, please?
Yeah, I think it's fair to get them a question for a legal memo by next Friday. They have obviously lots of competing priorities, but I don't think this is a very large legal memo, and they've already created one for us in March. So if you could email them to me my next Friday, I can put it into a consolidated document.
Thanks.
Are there any other questions about item 6A, options for committee relating to structure, questions, comments? Okay, anything on the Open Public Meeting Act? I thought that became really clear last month, but over to you guys. Sorry, trying not to sneeze. Any questions on that? Okay, what should be included in REAC's work plan and what are REAC's priorities? This is my favorite part of the agenda so far. Yeah, Aaron, please go ahead.
This is the thing, Sarah, to me, this is what Sarah referred to earlier. Back originally, Sarah and I were on to lead the REAC meeting in December of 2021 to do some visioning for exactly that. And that would lead to having our retreat at the beginning of 2022, like we were supposed to, and it didn't happen. So my thought would be we need to have a process like that. We're not going to just come up with those, in a 15-minute thing. I think we need to have a retreat.
Can we have a retreat at one of the picnic table pavilions at Evergreen Park?
I don't know if that's directed towards anybody, but I think we just check with staff and Kylie. I think we can meet however and wherever we want, as long as it is open to the public and we have notice of quorum issued to the public.
Because that seems good to me with the way case numbers are rising. It would be good for us all, I think, to sit around a table. And sitting around a table outside is about as public safety, health conscious as I can think of.
Great. Are there good dates for folks that they would want to do the retreat? I'm going to be gone for some of August, but I think the sooner the better, in my opinion.
How about next Thursday, kind of concurrent with the farmers market, which runs from 4 to 7 at Evergreen?
I'm leaving on Monday for 3 weeks.
Okay. How about if we all run out into the street right now? Okay.
Sarah, when do you get back? And Quinn, when are you gone in August?
I get back August 7th.
And I leave the 12th.
Okay, so between August 7th and 12th, Glenna, does that work for you?
I think my schedule is pretty open then.
Our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, the 11th. Can we just make that longer meeting and only be a retreat?
I'm going to be away that day.
The 11th? I thought you're away the 11th?
Yes, I'm coming back and then I'm going on the canoe journey, so I will be away.
Ah,
10th, 11th.
okay. All right, so you won't be at the next meeting in any event.
Correct.
Okay.
I thought the meeting was the 24th.
No, we meet on the, the second Thursday of the month.
Okay, that's right. Sorry.
No worries. All of us have multiple meetings that we're juggling in our heads.
I mean, maybe we should, because of this scheduling thing we're encountering right now, and because Daryl's not here and because we have at least one new member coming on, maybe we shouldn't try to do it I get what you're saying, Quinn, but like about sooner is better. However, maybe we should look to like early fall when hopefully everybody will be around. We'll have our new member on to help. The new member should be on for the retreat, I think.
Okay. So defer consideration of a retreat date until next month. Okay, Sarah, since you won't be here, we need to know what times don't work for you in August and September. Is that a complicated list for you to put together?
No,
Okay. Excellent. Well, we might actually get this done. That would be like really super and good. Okay, anything else on this one? All right. So all of us want to answer the question, what should be included in our work plan and what are our priorities? We want to consider that at the retreat, not during this meeting. Is that correct? Okay. Then are there any working team reports?
So change the power team can't meet because there's 4 of us on it.
Well,
So
you
we
got to
don't-
bump somebody.
I guess, go ahead.
I was gonna say I should probably bump myself. I recently had to step down from a board position just to make room for other committees, so.
We already bumped you. We already bumped you, remember, to get down to 4. We have Sarah and
4?
Glenna and myself and Daryl were the ones working on it to plan the forum.
Sorry,
So-
yeah, I totally forgot that. Okay,
So that's why I asked Christine to add, and thank you, Christine, for adding discussion of working team rosters onto the agenda here, because how if we're going to keep our same working teams, I think we need to figure out who's going to be on which ones to not violate quorum.
Sarah,
yeah, the working teams came out of the retreat last time, so we don't know, depending on our priorities, what working teams will actually need. So,
but we do know that they need to be a maximum of 3 people.
Well, unless we
Okay.
get on the REAC, and then we have a maximum of 4.
yeah. As soon as Laomi accepts, then the maximum is 4, because we would have 8 people total. Is that right? There's 7 now. It would be 8. You can't have more than half, so 4 once Laomi joins and accepts.
So 4 is the quorum either way.
Once she joins. If we don't lose anybody.
Okay, so
Have either of the other 2 working teams haven't been meeting either? Is that accurate? Okay.
okay. Does anyone have a suggestion about any way to enable change the power to meet other than waiting for the roster, waiting for the retreat to discuss it?
Oh, I'm happy to drop off if you all want to keep meeting, because I'm going to be gone so much anyway.
Well, right
Okay.
now, like, not as change the power, but Glenna and Daryl and I are meeting to prepare this presentation, which is just an ad hoc meeting. It's not a working group or whatever. I'm going to suggest that maybe we put the pause on the working teams until the retreat. And at the retreat, we'll figure out what's going on. And that might end up in, okay, we want to keep these same working teams, and now let's figure out who's on which one. Or it might end up in different working teams and not having these anymore, or it might end up in a different structure, who knows? But I'm just going to kind of formally suggest that we say these working teams are temporarily on hiatus or whatever until after the retreat.
Sure, that sounds fine. Okay, well, we've already done the status, moving on to old business. We've already done the status update for the GARA login credentials. I do not know how to cut that Gordian knot. So Quinn, you're pursuing that?
Sorry, you cut out on I heard my name, I think. Could you repeat what you said?
Hang on.
Oh, it's my connection. I just got a notice that I have an unstable connection.
Okay.
Sorry.
On the note of emails for GARE, I know we've covered this. I just had 2 quick questions that I wondered if either could be solved by GARE or by the city. Would it be possible for GARE to give us access via our own emails as an exception because we are affiliated with the city? I think that would be a question to pose to GARE. And is that a hard and fast no?
That was the first question I asked
Okay.
before this iteration. Yeah.
Right. remembering that now. Second question is, would it be cheaper and would it be reasonable to just make like a REAC email and for us to share access to, for committee members to share access via that email address?
And that's also the new question that I have to Gare is one, like, can we share? Like, well, I guess it's share anyway, right? Like, because I wanted to basically just give you all my login if they're okay with that. And then if they're not okay with that, like the second question was like, hey, can we create like one just for this committee? And I'm waiting back to hear back about that. Yeah, because that's exactly what I was thinking too.
Okay. Anything else on this? It is now 7:41. Can we move on to the Bainbridge REAC? And I'm just gonna say, I will not be attending.
I have an update on that. They emailed me. I'm the one who's been coordinating with them. And the update will relate to who would be able to attend. So they emailed me to say the last time our two REACs met, we talked about meeting again on July 28th. Since that time, the governor has stated that all public meetings must be in person. That means the City of Bainbridge Island REAC is now meeting in person and must conduct all of our meetings in person.
What?
I'm just reading you what
No,
they
no,
gave.
sorry.
I'm just going to read you what they gave to me and then we can talk about it. Okay. So that's what they said. And they laid out some options that would work for them. And I'm bringing those options before you all, and then we can give them feedback on those options. So it says the City of Bainbridge Island Race Equity Advisory Committee's enabling legislation, and they cite the code, includes language that the Bainbridge REAC meetings are held in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Thus, we need a plan for a meeting with access in person for members of the public. After that, and then they say, I confirmed this with the city attorney, and here are the options they laid out for us. Option one, hold the meeting in Bainbridge Island City Hall, but it would need to be on a different date than July 28th because the city hall is already being used on that date. And they suggested maybe one of their regular REAC meeting dates. So like August 4th or September 1st, for example. The option two was look at a different date. It's not one of their regular meeting nights, but still hosted at Bainbridge City Hall. Option three, ask us to host. Option four, cancel the meeting in July and begin the process of finding a new date for October, because we sort of talked about maybe doing it like as a quarterly thing. That's why they're saying October. So I said I'd bring those before you and get back to them.
Well, City Council last night determined that no meetings would be held in person per the advice of the Kitsap Public Health District. So I'm so sorry to interrupt you, Aaron, by going, what? Because it was so surprising. So there isn't any way we could host them. And Quinn, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're looking forward to October as a possible beginning for in-person meetings. Okay, Sarah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think we have enough on our plate between trying to figure out our legal structure and trying to have a retreat. And I suggest we postpone at least until October.
That's fine by me. Glenn, are you okay with that?
That's fine.
Quinn? Okay.
Okay, I'll let them know.
Okay, thank you very much, Aaron. All right. New business, discussion on how to address community concerns sent or forwarded to Bremerton REAC versus via email. I am not getting any of these emails, or I haven't gotten any for quite some time. So over to you, Quinn. Yeah, Aaron, please go ahead.
I asked for this to be put on the agenda. Thanks, Christine, for adding it. So every so often, those of us who are on REAC, we'll get forwarded or copied on a reply, usually to a community member who sent something to the city. And the reply will say something like, thank you, Mr. Johnson, for your concern. On our reply, and it'll reply whatever, and it'll say on our reply, we're copying, Bremerton REAC because your issue relates to race equity or something, right? And there have been maybe 10 or 12 of these in the last year. I just noticed that we don't have a process when we see one of those things come through for then saying, hey, do we want to put this on our agenda or talking about it or whatever. I want there to be some kind of a process, because as it stands now, I see that email and I just sort of I look at it and I mean, you know what I mean? We're being included on it in the reply. What is the step we should take as a committee when that happens? Because I don't see any further communication to tell us, like, we included you all on this and here is what happened to resolve that issue and whatever, so if we're being included on it, we're being pulled into the loop, but where is our role in engaging with the issue? Whatever it might be.
I think I have what my understanding of that answer would be, and that is, whenever Lori or Christine see something that relates to city council, mayor, commissions, whatever the citizen concern is, they will filter that, hopefully to get us the attention of whoever it might need to be. I think the best way is to, when the agenda comes out for amending, if it's something that one of you all thinks like, hey, we should be talking about, Mi Familia, or we should be talking about XYZ, amend it, put a proposal to amend it to the agenda, either in that email after Christine sends the agenda, or bring it up during the agenda amendment part during the meeting. Again, we can't have a discussion about whether or not it should be added to the agenda via email as a group, like we could as 3 people. But otherwise, I think it's just adding something that somebody feels strongly about when those 2 opportunities present themselves.
Okay. That seems really reasonable to me. Okay, did that answer your question, Aaron?
I think I'd like to hear Sarah and Glenna. Does that sound good to you?
Okay, but it is now 7:47, and I'd like to let the public get their opportunity to speak soon.
That feels like a fine process to me right now. I do wonder if we can add it to like the list of things we want to cover in a retreat, because it doesn't seem like the best answer to me long term, but that's perfectly fine for the status quo right now.
Okay, Sarah, you're okay with it? Okay. Then with your consent, I would like to move past the establishing the rules for August 11th and let the public have an opportunity to comment, and then we can go back and revisit. I feel making the public wait like past 8 o'clock is just kind of onerous for them. Is that okay by you guys? Okay. All right, I'm going to mess up the wording. So Quinn, be ready to critique. This is the section of the meeting where public recognition and comment is invited and encouraged. Please state your name for the record and try to confine your remarks to 3 minutes in length. Does any member of the public wish to comment at this time? Please indicate by raising your hand using the raise hand feature on Zoom. Okay, we have Christine and Marwan Cameron. Mr. Cameron, do you wish to comment? Okay, because Teresa Jones was on there and now she's gone. Okay. Seeing no one, I close public comment. Okay. All right. What are the things that I skipped past that you really wanted to discuss? Anything? Okay. Roles for the August 11th meeting. Anyone for land acknowledgement reader? Thank you, Glenna. Timekeeper. Thank you, Aaron. Note taker. I feel we should put that on Jennifer since she's not here and has no way to protest. Yeah, just write her and Jennifer's doing it. Facilitator. Quinn, can you do that as well as tech host? Are you going to be here?
It's a question up in the air if I'm actually going to be attending or if Kylie's going to be kind of helping me with that. I'm leaving the country and we haven't determined like if we're adding like a mini step to the trip. So I don't think I should be the facilitator, but I can definitely be the agenda creator. So far, Christine has been the one that's been creating agendas, and I will solicit input and create the agenda. I think that's a good aspect.
All right, well, I will take another whack at being the facilitator. I gotta say, it's a lot easier to run a meeting that goes by Robert's Rules of Order, but I think for, like Public Works, it's a lot easier. But this is, I think, more, it's closer to Occupy, which always makes me happy. Is that making sense? Yeah. Okay, so I will try to facilitate, more Occupy type way. And it is now 7:51. Is there anything anyone would like to say before the meeting is adjourned? Any closing remarks? Going once, going twice. I declare the July 14th Happy Bastille Day meeting of the Race Equity Advisory Committee adjourned. Have a really good weekend.
Good night, everybody. Thanks.